I hope everybody can hear me on this one. I just got done reading an audiobook segment, and yeah, I noticed that right as I was getting off, I saw everybody talking about the sound quality. So I went back and looked at that, and I apologize for it. It takes a lot to read a segment of that. So, hey, Brogan, great to see you. It takes a lot to read a segment of that. So all I can say is, fortunately, if you're listening to it on a phone, it can still be heard if you if you put the phone speakers up to your ear. I know, I'm not happy about it, believe me. But I listened to it. I reviewed that part, and I could still hear it, and it was only like the last 20 or 25 minutes maybe of it. So I reviewed it, and it actually. Oh yeah, no problem, Grandma Deb. I'm happy to. It was long overdue. I already have two parts ready. I just haven't gotten around to reading them yet. I'm probably going to read my other one, but I want to make sure that the sound is good, so I don't have because the next part I'm reading is going to be pretty long. It's going to be a long part. It's the part that takes place in the urban battle that was underway in the Cap City. So, in D to the C. So I want to be able to make sure that everybody can hear well, because when listening to the audiobook, I want it all to come through as clearly and adequately as possible. Because it's an important story, and that's the other thing I was going to get at. This is like my usual Friday thing, but I'm just going to leave it as an open sort of thing because um, I think there's a lot of people out in the world who just really don't understand what's really going to come upon this place. There's a lot of people in the world who really just don't understand what's coming upon this place. There's going to be a lot of horrible things. Like I've always said, it's not going to be a Jetsons future. It's going to be a Flintstones future. And by that I mean you're not going to have no, high-tech future, at least in western nations. You're not, because western nations are going to be racked by total war. I mean, that's what's coming. And I think a lot of people, that one goes over so many people's heads because it's hard to fathom. I get that. I understand that. I believe that it is very hard to fathom for people that war is going to happen here on our own soil, and it's going to be horrifying. It'll be worse than anything ever seen before in the history of warfare, in the history of the world. And it will. It's coming here. It's going to come home to roost. The word tells us that. Common sense shows us that, because you could see everything that's going on around you. Now, I was, if all my invasion work I've done was to highlight these things, and somebody would have to be a fool. I mean, if you really think about it, somebody would have to be a complete and total fool to disregard those works. Even though they're realistic fiction because they haven't happened just yet, they're gonna happen. They are absolutely 100% going to come true. Not just the invasion stuff, but the civil conflict work that I've done on this channel. It's all going to come true. And I think that a lot of people either don't want to recognize that for whatever reason, or they just want to disregard it because ignorance is bliss, right? I mean, I'm guessing that's the reason, why those things aren't really acknowledged like they ought to be, because that gives away a lot of knowledge. That is a gem of knowledge. And I guess the other factor that plays into it would be the algos. The algos don't want people to see that. They don't want people to see it. So it's really unfortunate. I mean, because you have so many people who have given the warnings over the years about a foreign invasion. But I have yet to see anybody else who has broken it down to the lengths and depths that I've broken it down to. And I'm not boasting. I'm simply saying it's just the fact. It's a fact. Who else has literally broken it down to such a minute, such a small level to where it can benefit people to pay very close attention to? Who else has gone into the time to show you everything you could ever possibly need to know, like in the reviews and in the stories from the character level, shown every aspect, every angle of that, of what such a thing would be like for the benefit of others, for the benefit of others. I mean, sure, you have people like Steve Quayle and all these other people that have talked about a foreign invasion throughout the years, but nobody has ever broken it down to where they've actually shown you in a hypothetical format with real equipment, real units, real everything, real capabilities, how that would unfold and transpire. Nobody has done that. I'm the only one. And I really wish that there would be somebody else out there besides just me who would have been doing something like that, but I can't find anybody. I literally can't find anybody. Nobody has taken it to the level that I've taken it to. And that's just a fact. That's not a boast. It's a real, honest-to-God fact. I have not found anyone who has done what I've done on this channel. So that's why it's going to be so sad, in a way, when I leave YouTube. Because although I might be leaving YouTube, like I've talked about for many months now, you know, it has been months because it's taken a while for me to finish my last project. But when I leave YouTube, there will be a whole library of materials up for everybody to copy, paste, rip if you're ripping the video. I don't care. I really don't care. It's not copyrighted. It's for everybody's benefit. It's for the benefit of everybody. I'm selflessly giving all of that for everybody's benefit. I don't hide it behind no paywall. It's free. It's free information. I'm not hiding it from nobody. So it's going to be sad when I leave YouTube because I'm not going to be doing any more projects. You know, this audiobook is my last project, you know. But it was my sincere hope that people would use that information to be better prepared and not be making their planning for emergencies based off of, you know, delusions or fantasy or whatever else, because a lot of people hold a lot of misconceptions about what all this stuff is going to look like. So I've taken it to the most realistic levels that anybody is ever going to ever see. And I have given it away for free. And I really, really hope, and the reason I'm even saying all this is because there's going to come a point in time where my channel is going to be scrubbed. It'll be scrubbed. And all of that work is going to be gone. It's going to be gone. So I really, really hope people take full advantage of that. And they take all of those things and put it somewhere. If I had something with more memory, I would do it myself. But I just don't. Because you see what I'm working with here. I'm working with this garbage phone. You know, I'm not going to go out. I'm not buying anything. I'm not spending all this money just for something to save stuff to. But on the other hand, because you know why? Because I already know all this stuff. I'm the one that made the material. I already know all this stuff. But I made that for other people. So I hope other people are saving all of that. I really do. Because it's not for me. It's for everybody else. I already know all this. So it's there's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there, and a lot of incomplete information out there too. You know, by incomplete, I mean you have people that have like part of it, but they don't have the rest of it. Like they might know a little bit, but they don't know, they don't have the whole picture. They don't have the whole full complete picture. So I really hope that others are taking that information and saving it for themselves and they can share it with others down the line, like family, friends, whatever, because people that have this type of information, you're going to be the ones that others look to because you're going to be the leaders. You're going to be the people that have knowledge. You're going to be the people that know what's happening and they know what's coming. Whereas other people, they don't have a clue. It's like I talked about last night. What did I say last night? I said last night that the vast majority of our population being soft and decadent and weak and they don't know anything. They're not tactically astute. They don't know anything about anything. And then when the communications and the ability to coordinate and organize is all gone, what the hell are they going to do? They're going to stand around and get slaughtered. They're going to stand around and get slaughtered. They won't even know what hit them. You know why? Because the enemy will see them before they even know where the enemy is, what they have, who they're coming with. It'll be bad. And I've conveyed so much of that already in work like my audiobook, like my stories I've typed out. I've already conveyed all these different angles of why and how those things look, move, and are. I don't know why people don't like to listen to that audiobook. I guess it's the algorithms that don't want people listening to it because there's no reason why those shouldn't have more views, because those audiobooks are far more important than anything I can think of, really. I mean, if you really want to get right down to the brass tacks of it, the audiobook is fantastic. It's just extremely long. It's extremely long. So, as much as I wish I could listen to the whole thing in its entirety, I haven't had to go on any long trips anywhere, so I haven't had the ability to just sit down and like listen to the whole thing from start to finish. I mean, I may have to take a day and set aside a day just to do that. Not do anything else that day. Just listen to the whole audiobook from start to finish, from my very first part to the very last part. And it's coming to an end very soon here. I'm already now about to read part 28. And then beyond that, there's just 29, 30, and then the finale part. Then the finale. And then after that, it'll be done. Then I can be done on YouTube. That'd be... What was my MOS? 13 Bravo, but I got used like an 11 Bravo. I was field artillery, but I got used a lot like 11 Bravo, which is infantry over in Iraq. So that's what they did, because they basically, when you're in a combat arms MOS, and combat arms is like 19 Kilo, which is tankers, or 13 Bravo, which is cannon crew member, or 11 Bravo, which is infantry. When you're in a combat MOS, infantry is always like your fallback MOS. It's always your secondary MOS. You're always infantry, because if they don't need you in your primary MOS, then they can kick you back to infantry, and then that's how they use you. That's how they used us. So, I'm trained in all of that stuff, in battle tactics, like small unit tactics, and field artillery on the 155, the Paladin, M109A6 Paladin. That was the howitzer I was on, but yeah, that was my military career in a nutshell. Let me see. What's everybody saying here? But my point is that people should pay attention to not just the the audiobook either, but also the reviews for the community tab stories. Read those stories. I mean, even if you're not big into reading, take the time and read them. I mean, if you can get on a computer, read the stories. You know, sure, I had to misspell and abbreviate a lot of words on purpose, but that was just so that the algos wouldn't take the stories down, because I had that happen to me, and I had to rewrite the whole damn thing because that happened early on when I was writing my first one. So I just sort of kept it like that. But the audiobook's great. That's just a read version of what I did when I typed them out in the community tab. Also, the 96-hour invasion playlist. It's like 36 videos. But it's not that long because that was made of shorter videos. That was the battle maps for the invasion, alongside of the new documentary Pacific Northwest, which was just about that specific region. So I made that one to go with 96-hour invasion. It's a separate playlist. Then, of course, you had community tab story review playlist, and then, you know, for the community tab stories, which would also figure in a way to the audiobook, and then you have the audiobook. That's all the invasion work on this channel. That's all of it, you know, and it's all very, very enriching, you know, from a mental standpoint, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're not going to know what the hell to do. They're not ready for it. They're not trained. You know, at least mentally, you'll have a not just a vastly better idea of what's coming than about, you know, 90% of the rest of the population will. And I'm talking just in terms of the knowledge base. You know, like 90% of the people don't know, like, you know, 3/4 of the stuff that I've shown. You know, it's or more probably, but it's serious. It's all very serious, and I just want people to take it seriously. And even the civil conflict docu-series was very, very good. Like I said, that's my own personal favorite one because I like how it was made, because I was live streaming by the time I made that one, so I could fit a lot more in and, you know, make a even longer presentation, you know, whereas the others were like short videos, you know, and then I had to write separately in community tab. But now that I can live stream, you know, I have the ability to make that civil conflict one pretty long and detailed, and also it fit a lot more into one series, as well as making this extremely long but very, very enriching audio book for the invasion. It goes with all the past invasion work. You'll notice that I have 3 locations in that audiobook. One is in Michigan, which wasn't shown in the original invasion stuff I made, but also another one takes place in Montana along the state line, which I did show that. And then also the other one takes place in the Cap City in Deed to the Sea, which I also showed that in 96-hour invasion, the 36 long video one. So that all runs parallel. All the different work I made runs parallel. But I said that this would be an open thing, an open forum, so I'm going to interact with the audience. That's primarily what I wanted to do, because I always do a Friday thing, so, you know, I figured, you know what, why not? I'll make this interactive, since I really didn't have anything planned other than reading. I was, you know, debating whether I should just come on or not, but because I saw that there were sound issues, I decided to come on right after I got done reading my last part, so check on the sound partially, so that way if I read later, I can make sure that the sound is working correctly. So let me see what everybody's saying. Okay. What's that? Grandma Dev, what did you say? Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good, Red Pill. Yeah, I was offered a job in military intel, Red Pill, but because I had a high enough GT score, but I wanted a combat job because I was young and dumb. I was young and dumb, but and wanted to, you know, I wanted the excitement, because when they talked to me about military intel, it was just basically like a desk job, like it's very clerical, and I didn't want to join the army to do clerical work, you know? I mean, I wanted to do like exciting things, and I saw the field artillery video in the recruiting center, so that got me excited to join field artillery, and then I got even more than I bargained for with that too, because I got to do infantry stuff along with it. Because that's that's your secondary MOS automatically if you're in combat arms, whether you're a tanker or artillery. You're always your fallback position's always infantry in terms of a secondary MOS. But yeah, I almost got a military intel job until they told me how boring it was. It sounded boring. Now it sounds more intellectual, but at the time, I'm saying at the time when I was younger, to me then it sounded boring, but you know, where I'm at right now in life, right now it would sound more intellectually stimulating, putting puzzles together with information rather than, you know, being a grunt. But I'm not gonna lie though. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed the grunt work, being basically for all intents and purposes, you might as well be a grunt if you're in a combat arms MOS. So yeah, good times, good times. What's everybody else saying here? But yeah, again, I'm sorry for the sound troubles in the last video. I just, if you could still hear it, but you just have to put it up to your ear if you're on a phone, and if you're on a computer, computers might have better sound options. Yeah, exactly, Red Pill. Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted back then when I was younger. I wanted the excitement because artillery looked fun. You blow things up with massive shells, and and then you get to do infantry stuff anyway too. So it was pretty cool. It was a cool thing. To me, it was. Hey, Mary, good to see you. Oh no, I understand. Yeah, go ahead, do that, Mary. It's all good. Hey, Blades and Fades, good to see you. Good to see you. Grandma Deb and Brogan and Unorthodox, good to see you too. Yeah, eventually, Unorthodox, that is going to happen, and that's going to happen because of all these nasty things that people partook in with the beast marks. That's absolutely going to happen. You're right. Absolutely, that's an issue. Major problem. And predominantly in the West too, in the Western world, because the corporations that have been basically given the full authority to do those things here, they've been permitted to tinker with things that they ought not be tinkering with, and the nanotech to do it. Definitely. Yep. Yeah, Red Pill. That's when I was in the army. I got to actually use that in Iraq. We used ours as a crew serve weapon. We always had a vehicle with a Mark 19, a 50 cal, a 240 Bravo, and then a M249, the Saw. Yeah, I got to use that as a crew serve weapon. I never had to carry it though, like out walking around on patrols, but I got to use it on a vehicle as a crew serve weapon. That thing is, yeah, that thing is like, I don't know what else to call it, but lit. That thing can spit some lead at an insanely high rate of speed. Just the sound of it is something else, man. It's something else. I liked it. I really liked it. I liked using it as a crew serve weapon. See, to me, that sound would be intimidating by anyone on the other side, on the receiving end of it. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yeah, they are, Red Pill. That's what I've been trying to show people. I've been trying to convey that in all my foreign invasion work. The Chinese CCP owns so much property throughout the United States. Those are Chinese bases for Chinese and allied troops for when they take over this country. They are already here. And the Chinese have owned our ports, and they've imported their units with all their full complement of vehicles and logistics into this country. where CCP friendly or CCP truckers, private truckers with their own CDLs, have transported these vehicles over the past few decades into the Chinese bases on our property that are the forward staging areas for their Trojan horse shock armies, which I convey on the battle maps in all my hypothetical invasion work as well, which is where all the Trojan units begin. They're all beginning on their CCP properties, which are everywhere, different battalions and their subordinate companies and which belong to their larger parent units of whether it's like a regiment, a division, a brigade, whatever. But that's in all my invasion work. When you're looking at those battle maps and you see Chinese units already on our territory, that's the PLA or PAP, because the People Armed Police is a fanatical CCP paramilitary unit, sort of like the SS were in the fascist Germany days. It's basically the same concept with the People's Armed Police in China. It's a fanatical paramilitary force. They have other paramilitary branches too, but yeah, every time in those hypotheticals where I've shown the PLA and PAP units inside the country beginning very, very, very close to their objectives, that's why, because they're starting out on CCP properties. That's why America will be taken over so quick. See, when the Chinese do their anti-satellite weapon attack with their FK-2000s and they do their cyber attack and take down the grid, and then they have their redundant electronic warfare systems of their electronic warfare units that boot up and shut off all the radio communications, where they also interfere with the nuclear arsenal because they've already hacked into SolarWinds and they know everything. They know how to get in there and shut it off. Yeah, we're done. We're done. We're done. Plus, they have back doors into everything anyway, because all the high-end military equipment we have uses Chinese components, like the chips and the electronic components. They have a back door into all that stuff. I was talking about that a few live streams ago, where I was talking about the F-35 that looked like it got hijacked. And I've told people a long time ago, very long ago, about the capabilities of Chinese electronic warfare systems, like how the Mumian Island installation almost caused two F-35s to crash into the sea that strayed within the outer limits of the field that was generated by their Mumian Island electronic warfare assets. Also Russia even has very effective electronic warfare. Both China and Russia do, and both of them are very, 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 very powerful, especially China. China even more so than Russia. Like on that Duran channel, how Alexander, the British guy with the British accent, how he said it right when he said, Russia is a nation that the West should never ever want to go to war with due to the sheer size, not only of their territory, but their industry, their military, their population, war making. And he said China about tenfold what Russia is, 10 times what Russia is. And he's right. China's a behemoth. China's a beast. Like, they're ginormous. They have 40% of the world's industry. They produce the most steel in the world by a massive margin. Same with titanium, tungsten, aluminum too, zinc, all these metals that are needed for war production. China produces, far outproduces everybody in the world with. Same in their high technology sector now. China has the largest high technology sector in the world. Not only that, they have the biggest conventional forces in the world. They're a mammoth superpower. Like, nobody can take on China. Nobody. And the next biggest country, Russia, that's China's best friend anyway. So, the West has no chance in any type of conflict. Plus, with the new Chinese and Russian war doctrines, with the Trojan horse shock armies that already begin inside our country, intermixed with the high-tech weapons like the anti-satellite weapons, the hypersonics, the robotics, the directed energy weapons, the electronic warfare systems they possess, the cyber warfare, it's over. Everything, our eyes and ears will be shut off in no time. Meaning the satellites we need for recon, the satellites also that are used for navigation and communications, all the internet and telecom from the cyber attack, the communications with the nuke arsenal due to being able to interfere in the military systems with cyber warfare. Also, the grid too, because all our grid, like a bunch of idiots, we started tying the grid to the internet. What I would say about like the early 2000s. Because before then, before the internet even existed formally, our grid was never tied to the internet. But like a bunch of idiots, we connected the grid to the net, which is stupid because now anything connected to the net can be hacked. And the Chinese have by far, the most potent cyber warfare program on the face of the earth, and they invest the most money into theirs too. They have phenomenal cyber capabilities. They've already hacked into SolarWinds, which is it affects our nuclear arsenal, Department of Energy dealings, everything else. Which Department of Energy, I'm sorry, that is Department of Energy. They have a direct hand in nukes. They deal with nuclear energy, and they basically been hacked into. All these major departments have been hacked into. So it's like man, it's wild. I mean, all the different things that all the internet espionage through hacking, all the academic espionage, all the infiltration and subversion, just the military espionage, economic, financial espionage, all this different espionage. China has the biggest espionage arm on the face of the earth. They do. It's extremely wide-reaching. And it's not just their intelligence agencies, it's also the fact that their doctrines call for an entire merging of civilian and military infrastructure, technologies, and everything else, properties, all of it, in their abilities to wage a total war. Because the CCP properties, those are used as bases. When they purchase properties in other foreign nations, those become military bases. If it's houses or apartments, those become barracks. If it's a port, that becomes a naval and logistical hub installation. If it's an airport, it becomes another logistical hub or an air base, aviation base for Army-based aviation units, whatever. If it's a farm or a ranch, that's a forward operating base or perhaps another logistical center. If it's self-storage, there's a place for their gear. I mean, they have so many uses for all these different properties. If it's an old factory, they could have a tank battalion stored in there. Who knows, whatever it is. All these properties they purchased, they have all these uses for them as per a foreign invasion. When you have foreign troops beginning inside your nation, and they use high technology to blind your nation, to make it deaf, dumb, and blind through cyber and anti-satellite weapons, you have no ability, realistically, to respond. Your nation will be overrun in a matter of days. I'm saying a nation of our size, of our landmass and population, it'll be overrun in days because they'll start out closer than ever to their ultimate objectives that can easily be overrun from where they begin at, and nobody's going to know where they're coming from. There won't be any front lines, is what I'm saying. There's not going to be any front because your external components, which your externals are the forces that invade from the outside of the country, are a heavy-handed reinforcement for the Trojan shock armies that are already inside doing the heavy lifting, meaning those are the units that begin on the CCP properties of the Chinese and their allies, whether that's Russia or whoever else, Pakistan, North Korea, Iran, Belarus, whoever else. Those forces that begin on CCP properties are going to break out of those properties and lash out in all kinds of different directions at various targets of interest, objectives, and the heavy-handed reinforcements coming in to fan out to help them are going to be the forces that invade from Canada and Mexico. That's your heavy-handed reinforcements that come in the country to fan out to assist the Trojans who are already here doing the heavy lifting. Then, of course, you have beachlanders, and of course you have your paratroopers. So you have them coming in too. That's how the invasion will be, just like I've portrayed it. Just as I've portrayed it. In all my invasion work, whether that's the stories, the type stories, or the audiobook, or whether that's the larger map level view, which shows you the exact units on maps and how they move on the map, whereas the stories are meant to convey the nitty gritty, like on the ground, moment by moment type of developments. That is the invasion as a whole. The macro level and the micro level. The macro being from the map level view, and the micro being from the nitty gritty character street level view, as they say. So, done a lot of work that people should have been paying very close attention to. More than anything else, I dare to say, because, this is the future. War is coming. War is coming. And if people can't understand that yet, then there ain't nothing else I can do for anybody. There's nothing else I can do for anybody. And I've already devoted so much of my time and effort and energy to making people aware of exactly how these things would play out, and exactly how, and also why, by using real everything, real capabilities, weapons, equipment, doctrines, forces, units, everything. It's all real. I use real everything to make this stuff. So that's what people, I don't think, because you hear a lot of people that, oh, I had a dream or I seen a vision about this or that. Well, yeah, but they don't know how to explain it. They don't know how to explain it. They don't know what they're seeing. I'm showing people how it works, literally. So it's like people can listen to people warn about a foreign invasion all day, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it when it comes here? What are you going to do about it when it affects you and you know nothing about how it works? That's where people are screwing up. They need to learn how this stuff works because God would want them to have that type of knowledge. My people perish for a lack of knowledge, says the Most High God. My people perish for a lack of what? Oh, a lack of knowledge. And his people aren't learning like they should be. By and large, they're not. I'm not talking about people that actually have paid attention and really, got into looking at the work and seeing how it works. I'm talking about those people that just don't want to know. They just don't care to know. Well, they perish for a lack of knowledge. So that'll be their lot in life when this stuff occurs. They're going to perish because they had no desire to learn any of this. And they really ought to. They really ought to. I hate to put it that way, but that's the reality of it. So, it is what it is. I said I would interact. I'm sorry, I went off on another tangent there. What's everybody saying? What's everybody saying? This probably won't be a very long Friday show unless I see people talking about stuff that I need to address. And in that case, I'll stay and have a nice conversation. Otherwise, if nobody's asking nothing or whatever, then I'll probably get off soon so I can read my next story part, but I'll probably have to have a break between when I get off and do that, because that's going to be a very, very long part to read. Quite long indeed. That's the urban battle part I have to read. And those are long parts because urban battles, there's a lot more facets involved in an urban battle than there are more in like rural battles like the last part where it was up in the mountains. In cities, there's always more people involved, there's always more places involved, there's always more of everything involved in an urban battle, and it's more concentrated into a relatively small area than where things are spread out and, among mountains and, this and that and the other. Fields, mountains. Oh yeah, no problem, Sasquatch Moon. And yeah, Grandma Deb, they will, but It's going to take a mix of things for people to get through it. It's going to take their own determination. It's also going to take God's blessing, because God will have mercy upon whomever he will have mercy upon. That's also in the word too. It's going to take one's own determination combined with God's blessing and will combined with, all sorts of other factors like their knowledge, their abilities. Because God never said ever that he was going to just do everything for everybody. God expects his own people to do their part in everything because, God always expected that because in the Bible, throughout the Word, that the people of God never said, "Well, God, how about you just do all of this? I'm not doing anything. How about I just not harvest grain for 7 years and store it up? How about you do that for me, God?" Or Noah didn't say, "God, how about you build the ark? I don't feel like doing it." Or no, no. Or Shema saying, "You know what, God? I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to fight these 600 Philistine attackers. I want you to defend me for me. I'm not going to defend myself. You just do everything for me. Smite them all dead." No, he never did that. God expected those men to do their job. God expected Noah to build the ark, and God shut the door. God expected Joseph to harvest the grain and store it up for 7 years, and God stretched it out. And God also expected Shema to use his ox goad or spear, depending on the translation, to fight off the Philistine aggressors who attacked him. And God made it work to where he defeated all of them. That's how God works. You can't expect him to do everything. You have to do your part. And yes, you're right, Grandma Deb. There's going to be a lot of people having a hard time. But, all things considered, people can make it. They can make it, and some even will make it. Because God always has a remnant, of course. So some will make it. Some will make it. Very few will make it. I would be disingenuous. I wouldn't be honest if I said that everybody would make it. Not everybody's going to make it. We have to accept that, even if we try, we still have to try. We still have to try. But even if we try, many of us aren't going to make it. And me personally, I'm at peace with that. I'm completely at peace with that. I'm good with that. You know what? If I leave this world and I knew I put in a good effort, you know what? Then nothing else even matters. Nothing else even matters. I knew if I left this world and I did my best, then nothing else matters. Because we know that not everybody's going to make it. So we still have to try, though. We still have to try. We have to try to survive. We have to try to defend ourselves, whatever the case may be, but we also have to do so knowing that most likely we aren't going to make it. And if we do make it, then God picked us to be his remnant, because he always leaves a remnant. But I'm glad you said that, Grandma Deb. You're right. Hey, Lady M. Yep. Oh, yes. Lady Emma, right as I got off the last video when I was reading my story part, I seen everybody talking about the sound, and I was like, oh, man. But I listened to it, and fortunately, you still can hear it, but you have to put the phone up to your ear, or if you have a computer, turn it up as high as possible. But, yeah, I wanted to do my Friday live after all, even though I just got done reading. I decided to come on here because partially to check the volume, because I want to read my other part I had ready maybe a little later, but I'm going to have a break between the time I get off of here and do that. And you know what? In all honesty, I might not even read it later, but if I do, I just wanted to make sure that the volume would be okay. So I had to come on here and check, But I'm glad that everybody came over to listen to that. It I was surprised that so many people were listening, because a lot of times, for whatever reason, like I was talking about earlier in this particular stream, they don't really kick those out to very many people, or for whatever reason, people aren't listening to it, and they really, really should. It's a lot of insight in those in the invasion work, all of it, whether that's the battle maps or whether that's the stories in the written sense or in the audio book, but those are very important, definitely. Well, okay, yeah, maybe I will. I'll wait till tomorrow. It's a long part too, so maybe I'll wait till tomorrow. I seen what you said there, Brogan. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just read tomorrow. But it's a pretty long part anyway. But all right. Yeah, they don't know. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Red Pill. They don't know that. A lot of people just don't know it, or if they do know it, they don't accept it. They don't accept it, and they don't want to know. They don't want to learn anything because they're averse to learning, new things, important things for whatever reason. They think ignorance is bliss, and it's not, because it's going to cost them dearly. Hey, Caleb. Yeah, I I'll check it once I get off of here, just to be sure. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Juan Minos and Mary and everybody. Thank you all, and Blades and Fades and everybody. Well, thank you all for coming. This was a good short little stream, I guess. But the important thing is that everybody should always be learning, especially about this stuff, because it's that serious. It's that serious, And like I said, and I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling the God's honest truth. I haven't found anybody doing the type of material that I do on this channel, insofar as the educational material that is offered in the playlist. And as a result, I feel it's important that, because it's not hidden behind a paywall and it's free, that people actually use it, and they use it to their fullest advantage. Because again, God did say, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge." And that, unfortunately, is going to hold true with very many people. So, all right, you all have a very blessed night. Thank you for coming to my short little Friday show. You all be blessed.